Magnus is in. Everybody else is in. That's the last bell. So my name is Jamie Smith, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer at the AstraZeneca BioVentureHub, which is currently scaling up. So I'm also the CEO of my own PR and communications company, which is also scaling up. And I'm the producer of the very, very popular and very cool sports podcast called Wag the Dog, which is also scaling up. And I actually had the privilege to work with Daniel Ek and work for a couple of years at Spotify, which was an amazing scale-up journey as well. So when I joined the company in April 2014, so they had 10 million paying subscribers, and when I left 2 years later, they had 30 million paying subscribers. And I'm actually taking all the credit for that. So anyway, so with all that scale up, I was delighted when Lotta and Liselott, when they asked me if I would moderate this session on scale up. So one of my favorite topics. But then that delight didn't last too long because I started to think about it, and time went, and I realized that I'd have to stand here and explain to you guys what scale up is all about. And I have to admit, I got a little bit worried, a little bit concerned. So when I was reading up and thinking about it, I didn't realize scale up was actually a formal business classification. I didn't know what the difference was between a startup and a scale up. And I just thought that scaling up was the same as growing. Is that right? Anyway, what does scale up mean to you? Anyone want to offer a thought on what scale up means? Expand. Thanks, Ola. Yes? Any other thoughts? Export. Very, very good. That ties in nicely to our internationalization theme that we'll go into as well this afternoon. Any other? One more? Use it somewhere else. Fantastic. Yes, exponential growth and getting more countries involved. Great. Anyway, I actually did some very unscientific research at the BioVentureHub in the last couple of days. So I asked 8 people what scale up meant to them, in these very intelligent people at the BioVentureHub in the companies there. Some of them are in the room, actually, I think. Bjorn. And so I asked 8 people what scale up meant to them, and I got 11 different responses. And I think that says quite a lot about the BioVentureHub. But here were some of them, and I particularly liked from the lab to the clinic. I think that was a really interesting perspective on scaling up. I spoke to the guys, the cool double act. If you don't know Johannes and Lars at Antoros Medical, then you should speak to them, because they talked about developing prototypes as a way to scale up and to be able to keep control of the company and grow organically rather than bringing in venture capital. So I thought that was a very interesting way. Burning money, that's come up a few times as well when we think about scale-ups. So this was all very helpful, and I think it actually made me realize that there are lots of different ways of thinking about scale-up. So I did find one definition that I wanted to share with you now. So the Organization for Economic Cooperation Development, they have their scale-up as being an enterprise with annual growth in employees or turnover greater than 20% a year, and starting off with 10 employees in place. So I think that's quite helpful to set a little bit of a baseline today. And also here's a few reasons why I found from the, there's actually a Scale-Up Institute in the UK. And it's actually quite good as well, because I know Sahlgrenska Science Park's internationalisation program that they've been running. They do a lot of work in the UK. And it also seems to me, this is very unscientific as well, that the US is a little bit more focused on startups, and whereas Europe is a little bit more focused on scale-ups. And I've got a few of my own theories about why that might be, but maybe you can think about that a little bit as well, and think about where the money is. Okay, but why scale-ups matter? Some of these reasons: productive, creating jobs, high-quality jobs, being innovative. I think it goes back to a little bit what Matti said earlier today when he said 1 and 1 equals 42. I thought that was a very, very a good definition of what, a good explanation about scaling up as well, and exponential growth, sharing so that other people can benefit from what you're doing. Because ultimately, I think this is what scale up, this is my personal view, this is what I think scaling up is all about. It's about continuing to grow, so we continue to help more patients, whether we're in the drug industry, whether in devices, whether we're in diagnostics, whether we're in digital health. And hopefully forums like these can be where we can all start to come together and map out the future. So we get this, that we, Magnus and I and the guys at the BioVentureHub, we call creating a 4D life science reality. So we mix in drugs, devices, diagnostics, and digital health. So that was really what I wanted to say. We've got 5 inspiring perspectives on scaling up to share with you this afternoon. So we're going to whiz through it quite quickly. So you need to hold on to your hats in this post-lunch session. So it's all about scale up, but I was hoping we could do a little bit of stand up if you're with me on that. Would that be okay? And I don't mean the comedy, because I don't do that very well. But if we could, I ask a few questions, and if you could stand up if the answers apply to you. Is that okay? Okay, stand up if you live in Gothenburg. Cool, very good. The majority, I would say. Thank you. Okay, stand up if it's your first time to Park Annual. Welcome, welcome. Lotta, you see that? Some new recruits. Excellent. Okay, stand up if you traveled more than an hour to get here today. Oh, very good. Excellent. There's the dedicated people as well. You've got your names on the GDPR list afterwards as well. Okay, stand up if you think that you work for a company or an organization that's scaling up. Very good. Excellent. Okay, now stand up if you're an investor. There should be 5 people. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 7. Very good. So I think you're going to be busy afterwards. Okay, thank you for that. And maybe the last question. Stand up if you've been scaling up life science products for over 20 years. And you're currently the business unit director at Vitrolife. We got it, the winner. Okay, Maria Fors. Welcome, 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 welcome. Congratulations. Well done, well done. You won. Okay, so Maria, you're going to provide some personal reflections on what it is to scale up. And I know you have got over 20 years. You've been working at big pharma companies and scaling up projects, portfolios, and companies. And I know that it's going to be a lot of learnings, a lot of failings that you've done, and hopefully you can share that with the people here today. And when we spoke before, we talked a little bit about this being kind of like interrailing. Does people remember interrailing? So you mentioned this as well, that I know I went interrailing lots of years ago, and I was aiming for Greece. And I think we got to Brussels, and we burnt out all our money in the Belgian pubs. But anyway, it's a bit of a metaphor for what you're going to hear from Maria, and take it away.